dressed in trousers, stood with her feet braced apart, glorious red curls tumbling over her shoulders and down to her back in wild disarray. Large grey eyes returned Phoebe's regard boldly. "You sound very unaffected at the notion of someone's impending death," Phoebe murmured. The pain of losing her beloved oldest brother, Francis, a few years ago still lingered in her heart. Many days she would lie on the grass at her family's country home in Derbyshire and recall to mind his booming laugh, his warm, comforting scent, and the way he would gather her in his arms for a hug. At the lack of response, Phoebe surmised that no, this lady was not at all concerned with whoever lingered at death's door. Then why isn't this poor beast by its master's side? "Doctor's orders," she said tersely. Phoebe stared at her for a few moments. "Who are you?" The girl fisted a hand on one of her slim hips and lifted her chin. "I'm Caroline, the steward of Glencairn Castle." Phoebe's curiosity soared. A female steward? How positively modern! The girl arched an elegant brow. "Aye, that it is, and I'm very good at my job except for when it comes to him," she said with another soft grunt of exasperation. "And who are you?" "Lady Phoebe." She dipped into a simple but elegant curtsy. "My family's carriage had a problem with the axle, and I thought to stretch my legs while it is fixed." Inquisitiveness shone from Miss Caroline's eyes. "You've stretched them quite far, m'lady. I see no carriages on the horizon." Phoebe glanced over her shoulder toward the east. "It seems I have outdistanced my party." The wild beauty of the Scottish Highlands had encouraged her to stroll for over an hour. Phoebe ruefully admitted she had been desperate to escape the diatribe her mamma had been heaping upon her head. It seemed her engagement to a certain earl was imminent, and Phoebe's protest at the alliance wasn't to be tolerated. The low growl of the dog had her shifting to keep him in her line of sight. How curious that its stare had not left her. He reminded her of Lord Benjamin's, Francis's cat, who had disappeared the day they had laid her brother to rest in the family's crypt. If what the girl said was true, this dog suffered because his master suffered. Her heart ached something fierce as she stared at the dog. "What is his name?" "Dog," the girl said. Phoebe frowned. How cruel its master would only call him Dog. She glanced around at the girl. Does he not care for this animal? There was a slight hesitation where raw emotions flashed in her eyes before her expression smoothed. "Perhaps the dog has a name," she shrugged with studied indifference. "I never cared to know it." Another unexpected ache clutched at Phoebe's heart. Why is his master dying? The indifferent facade crumbled, and pain, raw and powerful, cracked Caroline's countenance. "Because he is stupid." She dug into her pocket of her coat and withdrew a folded piece of paper. The girl hurried over to her and pressed it into Phoebe's hand. "I've been searching for a fool to give this to." "A fool? How astonishingly rude!" Then, to Phoebe's alarm, the girl marched away up the rocky incline toward the towering mansion in the far distance. Glancing at the folded paper, and then back at the retreating figure, Phoebe was torn between annoyance and unwilling amusement. She returned her attention to the animal still crouched in the bushes. "Do you know that very rude creature?" The dog growled in response, and Phoebe sighed. "Come, boy." "Dog," she called firmly. "Perhaps we should leave it alone, as the lady advises, m'lady," Sarah said a bit fretfully. "She is familiar with its contrariness, and it is also evident she does not care for the beast." "I suspect if we leave, this dog will stay here and starve itself." Sarah sighed. "The Duchess will not be pleased if she comes..."